So the first sort of reasons we're going to have a look at are going to have to do with our straight line reasons. Now, I've broken the straight line reasons up into two sections, non-parallel and parallel line reasons. Just because it's really important that we don't get confused between the reasons we can use when we have parallel lines and the reasons we use when we don't. So these first three reasons are the reasons that we use just for like your basic straight line. So the first reason that we looked at, and we obviously did all of this together, was the fact that if you have angles around a point, so angles around a central point, must add up to 360 degrees. Now, everything in these blocks here are your reasons. Okay, and remember, whenever you do geometry, you have to give a reason for your statement. So the blue blocks are the reasons that we would give if we're going to use that statement. The next one that we learned about was the fact that angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. And really, 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 really importantly, grade 8s, specifically adjacent angles. Okay, so these are angles that are next to each other on a straight line, and they have to be adjacent angles. You cannot have a straight line situation like this and say that this angle is an angle on a straight line with that angle. They are not next to each other, so therefore they are not angles on the straight line. The two dots or the two circles are angles on a straight line, and the two stars are angles on a straight line, but the circle and the star are not. They are not next to each other, so we can't say that they're angles on a straight line. Again, our reason, angles on a straight line. And please remember that in geometry, you can abbreviate parts of your reason, because why write it out? Like, there's no point if we can get it across. Right, the third straight line reason that we learned about was the fact that vertically opposite angles are equal. So if we have a look here, angle AED is equal to CEB. So that would be this angle is equal to this angle. They are opposite each other at that sort of cross point. And AEC is equal to DEB. So those bright blue angles on the other side. So whenever we've got a cross, where they meet, the angles opposite each other at that point of intersection will be equal to each other. And again, your reason, vert up angles equal. So we have these reasons, we need to be able to apply them. Depends on the question that we're given. We need to look out for these things. So I'm going to wait here in case anyone needs to screenshot this stuff. Again, we have done this quite a lot, but if you do need to screenshot, let's take a screenshot and then we're going to have a look at some examples. Okay, hope we've got it. Right, so let's have a look at example A. I will give you time to screenshot all of these later when we've gone through all of them, but let's have a look at question A to start off with. So the first thing, grade 8, please remember is that this is geometry. So anytime you're answering geometry, remember I've told you this before, my advice would be to split your page in half. One half for your statement, one half for your reason. And this is just to remind yourself that you have to give reasons. If you forget a reason, you're going to lose a mark. So guys, have a look at this and then hands up, which reason do you think that we can use to solve for X here? So all I'm asking is, which reason do you think we can use here? Wandle?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So the reason that I perceive we would use here is the second one, adjacent angles on a straight line.
Nice. Well done. So importantly, first things first, here's my common point. Here my angles are right next to each other. So those adjacent angles that Wandle just mentioned. And we know that if we add these angles up, because they're angles on a straight line, we must get 180 degrees. Now, grade 8s, this is how I would approach any geometry question. Even if it's a nice, easy question like this, this is still how I would approach it. Look at what you have, decide which reason best fit the angle you're trying to find, and then you can go and start your working out. But first, assess what information you have and which reasons apply. So now we can set up our statement. 3x plus 30 degrees plus 42 degrees must be equal to, of course I don't leave myself enough space, 180 degrees. And this is all because of angles on a straight line. Okay, so again, assess what you have, figure out which reason best fits your solution to the angle you're looking for, and then you can get into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just add these like terms that I have together here. So 30 plus 42 is 72 degrees. So 3x plus 72 is equal to 180. Using my inverse operation, so this is now all the algebra that we're just using. Inverse operations tells me to take 180 minus 72 degrees, and so 3x is equal to 108 degrees. Can I do maths? Yes, I can. Had a bit of a panic there, that's fine. Right, so once we've got that, please remember that our goal is obviously to solve for x. It's nice that we know what 3x is, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for x. So what I need to do is I need to divide both sides by 3. Again, inverse operations, we're solving an equation. And so x is equal to 36 degrees. Now, grade 8s, please also remember that anytime you've got a solution, you can go and check it. So what you can do now is you can take this x value that you've just found, you can substitute it in, and make sure that when you add those two angles together, you do get 180 degrees. So much like an equation, there is a way to check yourself through substitution. All right, again, I'll let you screenshot these all in a second. Let's have a look at question B. And again, same question to all of you. Who can tell me which reason best suits me being able to find the value of x here, or best allows me to find the value of x here? So hands up, who wants to tell me which reason I can use? You can put it in the chat as well if you don't want to raise your hand, that's fine. But you saw how nice it is to raise your hand. You can do it. I don't care if it's noisy or if you're sick. We want to hear your voice. I tried. Going once, going twice. Anyone want to raise a hand? Thank you, Luwandle, saving me again.
Ma'am, the reason we are going to use here is vertically opposite angles.
Perfect. And what do we know the relationship between vertically opposite angles are? What are they to each other?
They are both equal.
Perfect. Okay, so guys, exactly. We know that these are vertically opposite angles because here's that cross shape. They're opposite each other at the point of intersection. So that means that this angle 3x minus 12 is equal to the angle of 108 degrees. Okay, so based on that fact, I want you guys to go and try solve for x for me. So you're doing this by yourselves, give it a try. I will put the initial statement down for you. 3x minus 12 degrees is equal to 108 because of vert-op angles. Looks like a smiley face, but anywho. All right, so I want from you the value of x. Again, guys, once you have an answer, sub it back in. Make sure that you get that those angles are equal to each other. That's your way to check. I'll give you one more minute. That's okay, Ligilwe. Don't stress. Mistakes happen. Alrighty, let's see. Okay, so we set up our equation. We're going to use inverse operations. So I'm going to add 12 degrees on both sides, which means that 108 plus 12 degrees is 120 degrees. I'm solving for x, so I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And so x is equal to 40 degrees. Now again, grade 8, like I say, check yourself. So if we go and substitute 40 in place of x, 3 times 40 is 120. Wait. Minus 12 degrees is equal to 108. 108 is equal to 108. The vertically opposite angles are equal. I've done my stuff correctly. So it's really, really important for you to check. And don't think that just because it's geometry, you can't check. It's an equation that you solved. Equations can be checked through substitution. So make sure you do that to avoid losing marks unnecessarily. All right, again, we'll screenshot in a second. I want you guys to try and, what do you think this nonsense is that I have going on down here? I want you guys to try, I've given it away, question C for me. So let's solve for x here. I'm not going to say anything, do anything. I want you to try all by yourselves. I want to know what the value of x is here in question C. Remember your reasons, guys. This is geometry, so we do need to give reasons. Remember your inverse operations. All you're basically doing is solving an equation. Again, remember your reasons. And again, remember, sub in, make sure that you agree with your own reason. Nice, Caleb, well done. Penal, well done. McGilway, nice, well done. Keep those answers coming, guys. Give me another minute or so. In grade 8, remember again, you have to give reasons. In geometry, you get a mark for your reason. So it'd be really silly to lose half of those marks because you're not giving reasons. Nice, guys. Right, while you're still doing that, I already know I haven't left myself enough space, so I'm just going to sort that out. Okay, so we know that 2x minus 10 plus 53 plus 62 plus 85 degrees must equal 360 degrees. How do I know that? Why do I know that? Well, here's my central point. Apparently not. There's my central point. all the angles around that point form a circle. Sort of that's what I look out for. If I'm going to form a whole circle with all my angles, I know a whole circle is 360 degrees. So I know that's the reason that I'm going to use. So my reason, as you guys have said, angles around a point. If you say around a point or round a point, or even if you say round point and leave out the you're getting the message across, it's fine. Okay, so again, I'm just going to neaten up this left-hand side here with all those like terms. So minus 10 plus 53 plus 62 plus 85 is 190. 2x plus 190 is equal to 360. Solve your equation, inverse operations, subtract 190 on both sides, and you get that 2x is equal to 170 degrees. We want x, we don't want 2x, so we're going to divide both sides by 2, and so x is equal to 85 degrees. Again, if we sub in, to check our answers, we will get that we have done it correctly. All right, so angles around a point, we get 85 degrees here. Woo, woo. So let's take screenshots of all three of these examples that we did. There's a lot of panic on my side. Okay, there we go. So let's take screenshots of those three. Make it a touch bigger. There we go. And then we're going to have a look at our parallel lines. Because like I say, parallel lines are still straight line reasons. They're just special reasons that we have because we have parallel lines. Again, if you need to screenshot the parallel line reasons, do so. We have done it a few times, but just in case you need it, it's there. Alrighty. Okay, so parallel lines. Ignore the examples. Cool. Ignore the examples for now. We'll get to them. Let's have a look at our parallel line reasons to start off with. So parallel lines, remember, are lines that run in the same direction as each other. They have the same gradient as each other, and they are equidistant apart. So I always think of like a train track. The train tracks will never sort of merge and meet because otherwise the train can't go. They are equal distance apart. They run in the same direction. Those are parallel lines. Now we indicate parallel lines to you with lines that have this little arrow on them. So whenever you see a line with that arrow on it, you know it's a parallel line that you're working with. So the first reason that we learned was corresponding angles. Okay, so we learned that corresponding angles are equal, as you can see here. And basically the angles that sit in corresponding positions to each other in relation to your parallel lines are equal. So that was the first reason that we learned. Again, I'll let you take screenshots of this in a second. The second reason that we learned was to do with co-interior angles. Now, co-interior angles, grade 8s, are not equal. Again, we have parallel lines. These co-interior angles, if you add them together, you will get 180 degrees. So co-interior angles are supplementary to each other. They add to 180 degrees. They sit inside that sort of U or that C shape. They sit inside, so they're co-interior to each other. When we add them up, we get 180 degrees. The last sort of parallel line reason that we look at has to do with alternate angles. So again, parallel lines, angles that sit in alternate or alternating positions to each other are equal, and these are our alternate angles. So those are the three reasons that we learned to do with parallel lines. These are the three reasons that we need to know to be able to apply, essentially. I just want to move this so we can screenshot nicely. All right, so let us screenshot those reasons if we need to. Remember, it's fun or fuzz, whatever you learned, I don't know. I learned I learned fun at school, but whatever floats your boat. Right, we are going to do these examples in a second, but let's just take a screenshot of our reasons in case we need, and then we're going to have a look at the examples here. All right, Hope we've got it. Let's have a look at example A. So same as before, my question to you is, which reason can we use to find the value of x here? That's all my question is. Nothing complicated. Which reason can I use to find the value of x? Hands up or in the chat. It would be nice if someone would put a hand up, but no pressure. What reason can we use to find x? Ooh. Anyone feeling brave? Want to put their hand up? Let me know. Yay, Roha. Okay, Roha, what reason?
Corresponding angles.
Nice. Okay, excellent. And corresponding angles, what are they to each other?
They're parallel.
Okay, guys, so exactly. Here are my parallel lines. I know that because it's got this arrow on it. We can see that the 5x and the 125 sit in corresponding positions. It's like an upside down F. So I look out for that shape. They're on the parallel lines. And so exactly we can use corresponding angles here. Now remember, corresponding angles are equal to each other. So 5x is equal to 125. My reason, corresponding angles. Now grade 8s, please remember you should put in the parallel lines. Because there's no labels on my lines here, I literally just say parallel lines. If there were labels, which we'll have a look at in an example later, we'll put the label. But for this, there are no labels, so we just write parallel lines. And then we solve. This is a nice, easy one to solve. We're just going to divide both sides by 5 because I want x alone. And so x is equal to 125 divided by 5 is 25 degrees. And so x is 25 degrees. Nothing too complex there. We just give our reason, give our statement, give our reason. If we need to solve, we solve. Alrighty. So let's take a screenshot of this. Then we're going to move on to question B. Right, it's going to be the same question. What reason can we use? So have a look at question B. Which reason can we use to find x in this case? Sorry, my parallel line arrows are really annoying me tonight. So hands up or in the chat, which reason can we use to find x here? Yeah, a hand would be lovely, but otherwise in the chat. Okay. All right, grade 8's nice. So Caleb, exactly. We've got this Z-looking shape. Here are my parallel lines. Ooh, okay. Got the arrows on them, so I know that they're parallel to each other. I then look out for my F, my Z, my U, all of those shapes, but I do see the Z here, so I can see that I've got alternate angles. Now, grade 8s, remember, we know that alternate angles are equal to each other, so we can set up an equation here. Obviously, remember your statement and your reason. My statement is going to be exactly what I've just said, the fact that 3x plus 10 is equal to 70 degrees, and my reason, alt angles. Again, I don't have parallel lines, so I just write parallel lines. That's absolutely fine if there's no labels. And then we can go and solve. So we're going to subtract 10 on both sides. So 3x is equal to 60. Divide both sides by 3, x is equal to 20 degrees. Okay, so guys, what you can see here in the working out is you don't have to show the minus 10 and the divide by 3. You can show your inverse operations if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that, but you don't have to if you're comfortable with those inverse operations. So let's take screenshots. If anyone has any questions, please remember to raise your hand, to ask on the chat. There are quite a small amount of us tonight, so I'm happy if you want to raise your hand at any point for a question. That's absolutely fine. But otherwise, keep asking questions on the chat. And you are going to try question C by yourselves. Okay, I'm about to go to question C. I'm just waiting for the last few screenshots. Okay. Right, so here, oh, golly, that's an embarrassing labeling situation. So let's just fix that. Right, so question C, you guys are going to try by yourselves. Essentially, what I want from you are all the lowercase letters, which I'll highlight for you in a second. Let me just fix this monstrosity that I presented you with. Ooh. Okay, so I want from you V, W, X, Y, Z. So here's V, there's 5 angles essentially. W, X, Y, Z. I need 5 angles from you with 5 reasons. Let's try by ourselves. Look out for your parallel lines. Now, grade 8s, if you feel like you're not too sure where to start, my suggestion is to start in alphabetical order. So start with V and then work from there. If you don't want to start with V, that's fine. Just remember that if you give your reason, if you give your statement, you have to give the corresponding reasons. So don't mix up your reasons if you're not going to do it alphabetically. But if in doubt, start with the first letter of the alphabet. So in this case, it would be V, then W, X, Y, Z. Oh, it would help if I open my lid here. And remember, identify what's going on so you can see that there are parallel lines here, hopefully. And again, grade 8s, we give you everything for a reason. So if I'm giving you parallel lines, you need to use the parallel line somewhere. Remember your reasons. And guys, remember the second we start giving you more angles that you need to find, so like this exact example here, often there are different reasons that you can use for angles. So for example, there's 2 different reasons you can use to find W and X. So as we go through, I'll try and give you the options that you could have had as your reason, but just bear in mind that your reason might be different to mine, but there's not necessarily anything wrong with it as long as it is correct for the scenario. I'm going to give you like 2 or 3 more minutes. Nice, Jason. All done. All those answers all at once. And guys, remember your parallel line reasons has to involve both parallel lines. You can't only use one parallel line when looking for an F shape or a U shape or a Z shape or anything. It has to involve both of them. Another minute or so. Nice, guys. And I'm liking those parallel lines in your reasons. We need to remember those. Well done. Alrighty, let's have a see. Nice, guys. Okay, so I'm going to start with V. I'm just going to go alphabetical, but you don't have to, and I have explained that already. So if we look at V, V is vertically opposite to the 126. So V is equal to 126 degrees vert op angles equal. Right, once I've got an angle, I always like to put it on my diagram because it might help me find one later on. I'm then going to move to X. Right, so if we have a look at X, hopefully what you can see here is that it sits in a corresponding position to this 126 degrees. So there's that F shape. It's not a very good F shape, but there's the F shape. And so it corresponds to 126. So that means I can state that these are corresponding angles, and X is 126 degrees. Now again, remember your parallel lines. This would be FG parallel to DE. It's a weird looking parallel sign. Let's try that again. DE. And again, I know what this is now, so I'm going to put it on my diagram. So that's WX. So if I move on to Y, there's something I just want to point out here, guys, and this is what I was saying earlier. To use co-interior angles, you have to use both these parallel lines. Let's do that again. So that means that you have to involve both parallel lines. So what that would mean is that your co-interior angles are actually the 126 and this angle down here, or the Y and this angle down here. Co-interior angles are not, getting there very slowly but fully, the co-interior angles are not that U shape because that only involves one parallel line. You are not involving both of them. So those are not co-interior angles. So please just be careful when looking out for that. If I am going to look out for y though, what I see is, again, I've got corresponding angles with this 100, and so y and 100 correspond with each other. So y is equal to 100 degrees corresponding angle. Then remember your parallel lines, FG parallel to DE. Now that we know that, kind of left off W as well, but we'll come back to that in a second. If I have a look at Z, Z is vertically opposite to Y, so Z is also equal to 100 degrees. And now if I go back to W, there's a couple different ways you can do it. W, you can either see this orange F shape, and so it corresponds with 126 at V, or you can see this Z shape, and so it's alternate to 126. Doesn't matter which one you use. Third way you could do this, vertically opposite angles with X. Really, whichever one. So I'm going to use alternate just because we haven't used that reason yet. W is 126 alt angles FG parallel to DE. Okay, so even though I went in quite a strange order, I got all of the angles that I needed. I've given all of my reasons. And so what I've done is absolutely fine. What I want you guys to bear in mind is, because you have to give your reasons, this is essentially a 10-mark question, this whole thing, right? Just for stating some angles, because you're getting a mark for the angle, a mark for the reason, mark for the angle, mark for the reason, etc., etc. So that's 10 marks. In a test that's out of 50, 10 marks is worth 20%. So just by taking a second and doing a question like this slowly and carefully and methodically, you've banked 20% of your paper. And this is why it's so important in geometry to do things carefully and read your questions carefully and make sure you've got all of the information, because you can get marks quite easily, but you can also lose marks quite easily if you don't do things properly. All right, so let's take a screenshot of this. I can't remember if we took a screenshot of B. Genuinely can't remember. So let's take a screenshot of this. I'll go back to B in a second, just in case. Okay, I hope we've got it. I'm going to go back to B because, again, I can't remember if we took screenshots. But let's just take them. Okay, nice, guys. All right, so I do want to look at triangles, but I do think we need a little break. Let's have a little brain break. I'm not going to go a little English. I'm not going to do a long brain break, like 3 minutes. You can try the guess the phrase if you want. I'll give you the answers in a few minutes, but otherwise just take a second, get up, stretch, go to the bathroom if you need to go to the bathroom, go get a glass of water if that's what you need, and let's carry on in, let's say, 3 minutes. Remember, it's a common phrase that people use, and you need to look at the picture and see what that phrase might be. You guys are good at these. All done. Keep the suggestions coming. Okay, so I think most of you got the first one. The first one is misunderstanding. Again, it's like a phrase, not necessarily just one word. I'll give you another minute and then I'll tell you what they all are. Okay, let's see. So you guys are on the right track with weather because it's spelt incorrectly. It's a bad spelling. So this is bad weather. Number 3, there's too littles and too late. So this is too little, too late. Some of you got 4. This is 4-wheel drive because there's 4 wheels. And then the 5, a lot of you got notice, but it's missing an E, so it's shorter letter. So this is short notice. And those are your 5 phrases. But very nice. We were on the right track. Well done. Guys did well there. All right, guys. So let us jump to some triangles. I'm not sure if we'll get through some examples. Hopefully we'll get through at least one. But I do want you to get the reasons at least. So let's have a see. So I realized that it's too small if I don't zoom, if I zoom out. So we're just going to do this. Just ignore the examples. Ignore the examples for now. Let's just chat about the reasons. We'll do the examples in a second. So our triangle reasons, there's 4 of them that we need to know. And essentially, don't know where I was going with that. We're just going to move on. Right. So the first one that we learned was the fact that the 3 interior angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. And this is because of sum of angles in a triangle. The next reason that we learned was the fact that the exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the 2 interior opposite angles. So what that means is that this angle A outside my triangle is equal to B plus C. And this is because of exterior angles of a triangle. All right, you can screenshot in a second. Let's just finish the reasons. Our last 2 reasons, one is sort of the original theorem and the next is the converse. So the first one is that if we have a triangle with 2 equal sides, then the 2 angles that are opposite those equal sides are also equal. So essentially, if I give you 2 equal sides, then the angles opposite them are equal, and that's angles op equal sides. The converse, or the opposite, is also true. If I give you a triangle with 2 equal angles, then the 2 sides opposite those equal angles are then equal. So now it's if I give you that the angles are equal, you can then say that the sides are equal. And this is sides op equal angles. And so for the reasoning, we always use which is equal. So in the first one, I gave you the equal sides. So it's equal sides in the reason. The second one, I give you the equal angles. So it's equal angles in the reason. Just because I know that we can get mixed up with them, and it's fair. So let's take a screenshot. Let's take a screenshot of the first 2, and we'll go to the second 2, and then we'll have a look at an example. Again, you guys probably have these reasons, but just so that we have them again, it's always useful to know what our reasons are in geometry. Okay, next two. Screenshot the next two if you haven't already, please. All right, and then let's have a look at an example. Luckily, we got time. All right, so I'm going to skip example A. We're going to go straight to example B. And you guys are going to try this one by yourselves. I want the values of X and Y here. So based on the triangle reasons we've just spoken about, you don't have to use the triangle reasons. Remember, you can use any geometry reason that you want, as long as it's valid. I want the value of X, and I want the value of Y. So here's X, here's Y. I want to know what their sizes are. Let's give it a try. Again, you don't have to start with X. You can start with Y if you want, up to you. And again, there are different ways to do this. And guys, try as far as possible to use the triangle reasons. Again, you don't have to, but seeing as we're talking about triangle reasons, let's try and use them. I'll give you another minute or two. Make sure we're trying, please. No point to this if you're not going to try. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to start with Y just because, again, let's use the triangle reasons. So hopefully what we see here, guys, is that this angle 58 is an exterior angle to the triangle. So what that means is that Y plus 21 must equal 58. So Y plus the 21 degrees must equal 58 degrees because of exterior angles of a triangle. Again, you don't have to use this reason. I'll explain now in a second what other reasons you could have used. Let's do that again because that was terrible. Okay. And so if we now use our inverse operations, Y is equal to 58 minus 21. And so Y is equal to 37 degrees. Okay, so now we know this is 37. The next thing that I see is that I do have a triangle here. I've got two of my three angles, and so I could use sum of angles in a triangle to work out X. X plus 37 plus 21 must be equal to 180 degrees. Sum of angles in triangle. All right, 37 plus 21 is 58, as we already know, which is equal to 180. If we now say x is equal to 180 minus 58 degrees, we get that x is equal to 122 degrees. Now, you don't have to have done it that way. Okay, there are other ways to do this question, which I'm going to explain now. So one other way that you could have done it, which I think most people would probably do, especially if you do it alphabetically, is use angles on a straight line to work out what x is. And then to work out y, you could either use the exterior angle or you could use sum of angles in a triangle. Either one doesn't really matter. You will get the answer. So, excuse me. When doing this question, again, there's different ways to do it. You have options here. As long as your reason makes sense to the diagram and to your order of work, you're good. Okay, so let's take our screenshots. If anyone has any questions, please.